Why the trouble? What caused you to pivot? And why do you think people, young men, have the same struggles that you had?
It was hard for me to kind of open up and make friends and stuff. And I think it was after really the defining point was when my parents divorced when I was 10. And it was kind of a rough divorce so I went to the back door and the back deck went from the ground level up to the back deck, right? So I opened the door and there's like 5 dudes there, hoodied up, holding guns. Like, I was dealing with some pretty serious people. Like, my neighbor where I lived was a known gangster in New London, like that I was cool with.
This episode is brought to you by me, Paul Martinez, with Comparion Insurance Agency. Let me ask you something. Have your insurance rates gone up lately? You're not alone. Across the country, a lot of people are struggling to find a fair and competitive price on their auto, home, and life insurance. That's where I come in. I'm licensed in Connecticut, New York, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, and I help families and individuals find better coverage at better rates without the hassle of doing it yourself. So if you notice your bill creeping up, or you just want to make sure you're getting the best deal out there, reach out to me. You can find all of my contact information in the episode description. Let's make sure you're protected and paying what you should be. Welcome back to another episode of The Open Exchange. My guest today is Maxi Blanco, which is nice to finally meet you. We haven't met. We've done business together. I've seen you at the barbershop. When you reached out to me and was like, hey, I have a story. My show's about stories. My show's about conversation and sharing those stories and having the ability to be vulnerable. When I started the podcast in 2024, that was the theme of share your story. What are you about? And let people get to know about you. But I think your story is a little bit unique. You shared with me in 2011, you got into some trouble. And I'm going to allow you the time to kind of go through that. But I think when listeners are tuning into this specific episode, the biggest question I had as a host and knowing that I'm going to sit down and have this conversation is, why the trouble? What caused you to pivot? And why do you think people, young men, have the same struggles that you had? And how do you get out of it? Because you're a successful barber, you're an entrepreneur, you have your own, you said beard oil. Right?
Beard oil products.
That's hard to do, specifically when you feel like the cards are stacked up against you. Right. Let's go right to it. You come here how long ago?
So I was born in the UK, English father, Colombian mother, and I came to the States when I was around 14. My parents divorced when I was young, so when they separated, the man that my mom got with, his job brought us to the States, and I've been here ever since. So that's how I came to this country. And I've been here, since 14. And they kept moving around, they moved even back to Europe. And I just stayed here. I just kind of liked America, you know what I mean? And got comfortable here. And I was in high school. And in the middle of high school, you don't want to leave like your junior year.
Right.
And so I stayed here.
So what were you like before you came here? You know, I think we're influenced by our peers. I don't think that, regardless to whatever country you grow up in, I don't think that that's different. I think who you are around is pretty easily to define you as the external person. I don't think the character is defined by who you're around with. I think that you're defined by influence. You see people do things. I mean, I grew up with people in New London, and I didn't have a dad around, so I wanted to hang out with the cool kids. And the cool kids were those who were running the streets, the gangbanging, you know, all that.
Right.
What were you like before?
So, I mean, as a young kid, like, I was always very quiet. You know, I'm still kind of a reserved, quiet person, but I was definitely like very shy when I was younger. And it was hard for me to kind of open up and make friends and stuff. And I think it was after really the defining point was when my parents divorced when I was 10. And it was kind of a rough divorce where, you know, my stepdad used to be friends with my dad. So you can kind of put 2 and 2 together. Not to you know, I love my mother, I love my stepfather. There's no grudge there. I don't hold grudges like that. Everything happens for a reason, but that definitely messed me up a little bit mentally, like trying to understand like what was going on with that, and being an elder brother, having a younger brother and sister, kind of having to be strong for them. So that's where it really started for me, where I'm just like, I started listening to music and getting a little bit like mentally, like having like more of aggressive thoughts
So
and
you're
being,
starting to get angry.
yeah, like this anger was just starting to build up in me at that age. And you know, I'd react in certain ways. And then my stepfather's job moved us to Madrid, Spain, before I came to the States. So I went from England to Spain, and now I'm in a different country with, he's being a father figure to me. But at the same time, I'm like, look, I have a father, and I love my father, and I can't see him as much as I want anymore. So all these things kind of built up over time and made me a little bit angry, and started smoking weed. And at like 12 years old, I started smoking weed, hashish and stuff, and you know, getting into hip hop music and really relating with that kind of music because I was going through, you know, struggles like that. But in terms of like financially, my family was always good. Like I feel like I never wanted for anything in my life. It was more just like the mental and like emotional damage that I was getting from these situations I was in. And then when I moved to the States, it was like again, very you know, I couldn't see my father all the time. He lived in another state. So it's like always different, these different feelings that I just didn't know how to really cope with them.
Hmm.
And and then at 16, my mother and my stepfather moved to New Jersey with my brother and sister, and I decided to stay here in Connecticut. So I was living alone with my mom's friend. So and now I'm alone. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, and I'm trying to understand these new feelings and stuff. And like, you know, I got close to the friends I had in high school, and I still have those friends. But you know, that's when I started like getting into cutting hair and stuff, and like learning how to cut my own hair, and then I start cutting my friends' hair. But still, there was always these like I was quick to react to anything. Like if
Mm.
someone said the wrong thing to me, I would snap. Like
And did that start when you were 14?
I think that started, yeah, like when I was even younger than
Maybe
that.
12?
Yeah, yeah,
When
where I would, you know, I would react to things even at that age. You know
Sure.
what I mean? And um,
What was your dad like?
my dad honestly is like I love my dad. My dad has been that one person that has always been there for me no
Mhm.
matter what. Like, and when I was younger, it was different because he was he was always working. Like
Sure.
my mom stayed home with us, he would work. But like when it came to like me becoming a man and learning what it is to be a man, I learned all that from my dad. And he was really the only one that I felt that was supportive of me when I wanted to like do barbering. You know, because back in 2008 when I graduated, it was all like you got to go to college. Like if you don't go to college, you won't be successful. Like that's how it was back then. I mean, I think you can relate to
Yeah,
that too.
yeah,
That time,
yeah.
they didn't even promote trade school or nothing. Like it
Mhm.
was like you got to go to college. But my dad was like, "Well, if you want to do what you want,
Good for him.
do what you love.
Good
If
for
you
him.
like cutting hair, I'll take you and we can go look at some cosmetology schools. You know, back then they didn't have barber schools, just cosmetology school. So I remember him taking me after high school to look at these schools like Tony Guy and Paul Mitchell. But that was like cosmetology, like women's hair.
Sure.
It really wasn't my vibe, and like I didn't feel like that was the right time right then. But even when I after I graduated high school, that's when I became completely independent. He would always say 18, you're out the door. And he was joking about it,
Yeah.
but it did happen. Like I felt like I wanted to be independent by that
Do you
age.
think that was because of him saying that all the time, or do you think that, and I'll ask you about your mom if it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think that, and backtrack, because I stayed with my mom until I was 23. I met my
Yeah.
wife when, Claire, who you know,
Yeah.
I met her when I was 23. I still living with my mom. It was never this like idea that if you're 20, 18, whatever it is, she held me down. But my sister dipped out of the house at like 18 as well.
Yeah.
And there was a similar tone to that. Do you think that was the reason why you left at 18?
I mean,
Because he was jokingly saying,
like,
"Hey,
yeah, like I just kind of felt like that was how it was,
it was supposed to be that way."
and it's supposed to be that way. And he's very like, um, he has a serious demeanor,
Mhm.
you know, and I think that's where I get that from. Like, I can be joking with you, but some people would think I'm completely being serious,
Yeah,
and I just thought like that's just how it was. But by that age, I'd already wanted to be on my own.
yeah.
You know, I had a girlfriend at the time. We were going to be together forever, you know, that kind of thing. And I was like ready to like be independent and go get our own
How
place.
amazing how confused we are at 18 and we think we have it all
Yep.
figured out.
When I think back of that, I'm like, man, I was young and
Mhm.
dumb. Like,
Mhm.
and it just kept getting worse from there. You know, I just thought I was invincible. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And
So, you know, where's it start turning for you? Where does it start getting a little bit on the fine line of, all right, like I'm messing with some serious life or death issues?
definitely like I'd say 18. Like as soon as high school ended, I was independent, got my own place. Me and my girl at the time moved to New London, got a place on Jefferson Ave, right opposite Famous.
Yeah. Oh, you worked
Um,
at Famous?
I didn't
No, no,
know,
no.
but I
Yeah.
lived literally in front of it.
Got it. Got it.
So just to put it,
Yeah.
you know, that's a very common landmark
Yeah.
for in New
Yeah.
London. So I lived right opposite there, and being completely independent, and then having all my family at that point moved back to Europe. So I now have no family in this
So
country.
your mom,
Mom, stepdad,
brother,
brother,
sister?
sister,
Wow.
my dad, my stepmom, all moved back to Europe. So now I'm completely alone in this country. And that's where it's like, again, that feeling of loneliness. And I've always,
Resurfaces.
yeah, and I've always been like the black sheep in my family, I feel. And that was where it was like, all right. And you know, I'd had experience you know, drugs and stuff and how to sell them. And I've been doing that since a young age. Just,
Mhm.
I'm a hustler. You know what I mean? I've always been like that since a young kid. And
Yeah.
whatever I put my mind to, I'm going to do it to the best of my
Sure.
ability. Unfortunately, it started with that, being an entrepreneur in the wrong thing at
How
a
old were
young
you
age.
when you started?
Like 16.
Wow.
Um, like I remember in high school selling weed to people at my lunch table with the principal right there. Like it's no problem. Like, oh, there you go. And skipping school and smoking weed. And it all started with weed. It always does. But,
Yeah.
you know, as I got out of school, it was like, all right, now I took it to another level and I started dabbling with large amounts of weed. I'm talking like pounds of weed, which, you know, back then is highly illegal.
Yeah.
And then you start getting introduced to other things like cocaine and pills and shrooms and Molly. And if I knew someone that wanted it, I would buy it because I
Mhm.
knew I'd make money from it. So that's where it really started. Like 18 was like, all right, I'm independent, full blown. That's what I'm doing to make money. And
Bring me back there to 18. So how are you feeling as you're starting to get away with, call it what it is, criminal activity, right?
right.
You mentioned you're a hustler, you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I love that we're having this discussion because you're probably later in life, which we'll get to, able to transform that same mentality into what you're doing now.
Facts.
But at 18 years old, when you start getting into the more heavy stuff,
Yeah.
how are you feeling? Are you afraid or are you hype that you're making all this money?
Um, it sounds crazy, but I wasn't afraid.
I didn't, yeah, that was
And
what I assumed you were going to say.
yeah, like I was dealing with some pretty serious people. Like my neighbor where I lived was a known gangster in New London, like that I was cool with. And I just didn't care. That's the thing. It's like I remember my dad always saying that and my dad's given me many life lessons and he's told me many things that stuck with me. But one of them was that the man you should fear the most is a man that has nothing to lose. And I started becoming that man, you know, and I just felt like I had nothing to lose.
But you never feared him.
No.
When did you start fearing him?
My father or
No, so you said maybe I misinterpreted what your dad said, but you said your
oh
dad said the man who you fear the most is the man that has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You said that you weren't afraid at 18 years old with all the
Right.
stuff you're doing, but you know, full circle on what you said, you didn't fear yourself,
Right.
but you also felt like you had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
When did you start realizing like I do have stuff to lose?
It was really until I became a barber, like, and became established in life with a career and with my fiance now, Leah, is when I had all those things together. Which wasn't until I was like 28, 29.
So it's recent,
Yeah.
you know,
So
6,
it
7
was,
years ago.
yeah, that was really when my life, I felt, was like established. Like
Mhm.
when I had my shit together. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? So, and it took me a while to get there, but everything before then was like I would do time. If I got caught, I would do, that's fine. I'll go to prison.
Have you?
And I've only been there for like a week.
Okay.
So when I initially got in trouble with my serious case that really changed me, it was, I mean, I was looking at 5 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was gun charge, it was serious offense. But I I got a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like my case, the way it was, everything was circumstantial. So I beat the case and was kind of given a second chance. And that's when I really started making the changes in my life. So I knew I'd been given an opportunity there. But leading up to that, it was because of my mentality of not having anything to lose
Mm-hmm.
that got me in that position in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's, do you know who Samer Delgado is? He owns Fit Fam in New London.
Yes, yes.
I had him on my podcast, and he said very similar. He also ran with gangs back when he was 16, 17, 18 years old, and he
Yep.
changed his life. And I think one of his mentors said, the only way that you're going to change your life is if you change the people, places, and things.
Mm-hmm.
People, places, and things.
Yep. Facts.
When did you start doing that?
Um,
Because I got to imagine that was probably when, and we'll go through the charge,
yeah.
when you decided like, all right, I gotta move.
It was 2011. It was after my case and
Mhm.
after it, because my case was a life threatening situation. Like
For everybody.
Yeah, for everyone that was in that house, for me, you know, I mean, I could have killed somebody,
Yeah.
and fortunately I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But
What happened?
so basically, everything that the way I'm living my life led up to this point. You know what I'm saying? I fear nothing essentially. I have nothing to lose, and eventually, this life changing moment came knocking on my door. Where, you know, got we had me and my friends at the time. We all had an apartment in New London. We're all bachelors. We all got girls over all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We're all making money. You know, I'm on the top floor of the apartment, and I would serve all of them.
Yeah.
So I would sell them ounces, quarter pounds weed. They would go out and sell it. And I kind of just kept to myself. Like I said, I've always been a very reserved, quiet person. It was just me and my dog.
Mhm.
Most of the time, I didn't have any girlfriends, nothing. Like, my main focus was just making money. That's all I did. I would go out from like, I'd sleep until 1 p.m. in the afternoon and go out all day until the middle of the night just selling stuff.
Crazy.
And walk around New London with my dog with a gun in my pocket, my pit bull on my left hand,
Mhm.
and I would shove drugs inside his harness
Wow.
and go, and because it would be easier for me to walk around with all this stuff than to drive with it. Because if you're driving with it, you get pulled over.
You're right. Yeah.
I'm screwed.
Yeah.
But walking on the street is like, oh, I'm just walking my dog. You
Right.
can't stop me for walking my dog. And it just, all these actions led to a reaction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And one night we were having a little party and I heard someone knocking on the back door, and only people we knew would come to the back door. And our apartment was like a second floor apartment. And I froze for a moment. So I'm like, is this a joke? You know what I mean? What the hell? And then
People you knew.
not people I knew.
Wow.
And
But people who knew you.
they
Wow.
clearly knew that this was a place to do a hit,
Wow.
to do a jukes, you know?
Wow.
So I opened the door, and this kid could barely hold this pistol in his hand. This pistol was so big that his hand was like,
Young guy.
yeah, I could just tell he was young, but he had his hoodie like over like this. Like I couldn't see anything, only his nose, and like that was it. And he tried to come in, and I was holding the door still. And I remember I pushed the door, and pushed him out and locked it. And I went upstairs to my room and grabbed my piece. And I remember my window was right above the back deck. So I opened my window and I could see them all standing there.
So they're still there.
And they're all kind of like talking between each other, like trying to figure out what to do. And
And you're by yourself, or there's people at your house?
we got people at the house. Like I got my roommates, we got girls
So
over.
so are you like, I don't want to say panicked. I'm assuming adrenaline, right? Is
Yeah.
running through you. Do people know this is happening? Or are you are you kind of like quiet about it?
I'm kind of quiet about it. I feel like it's kind of blurry sometimes when I think about this situation, but I think they knew something was up. And I had a girl over at the time that was kind of like the girl I was talking to. And I remember she kind of followed me up, and my dog followed me up too. And he was barking, going crazy. And everyone knew something was wrong, but I didn't really go into detail about it. I just saw a gun and said, I got to get my gun.
Yeah.
Because that's how I would think back then.
Right.
You got a knife? I got a knife. You got a gun? I got a, And so I went up, got my gun, and I opened the back window, and I see them all there. And I remember just firing a shot in the air, like boom, just to kind of like, I don't know,
See if they're going to scatter and get out of here.
establish dominance. I don't know, scare them, And in the end, they just stopped, turned, and were like, oh, shit. And then just started shooting back.
All of them? They all started shooting?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many, but I didn't realize what was going on until I felt bullets literally like whizzing by my ear.
What?
Like I could feel the air.
That's crazy.
And I was like, it's so surreal when I think about it. It's like a dream, But everything was just like slowed down.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, like they're shooting at me. They're shooting back at me. So I ducked down, and the windowsill was no shorter than this table. So I got my back to it, just like against the windowsill, and I could hear the bullets. And then I remember I got back up and just stuck my hand out and just boom, 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 just started unloading my gun. And I had a little revolver, a 22 revolver, so it had like 7 shots. And the pin on my gun was broken. So I bought it for cheap off the street, but I knew that if I ever had to use it, I only had those 7 shots. So I remember I shot like 5 of the bullets. And then I remember standing there, seeing them running. And I'm just standing there with a smoking gun. And I'm on the top of the building basically, and they're all just scattering. And I kid you not, man, like the adrenaline of something like that will never compare to anything I've ever experienced in my life. Like nothing will ever compare to it.
Yeah.
And I even get like butterflies in my stomach every time I talk about it. And I didn't realize what had happened or if anyone had got hit, because I was just kind of shooting down blindly. But then next thing we know, I mean, there's lights around the cops were there within, I don't know, 5 minutes.
So you see lights, cops show up.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Yeah, it felt like within minutes there was just like my whole apartment was just surrounded by cops. And I didn't feel anything, which when
you didn't feel scared?
No.
Wow.
Like when I look back on it and I think about this situation, is where I was getting at with like I had nothing to lose. Like it came to that moment where it's just like I was just ready for it. You know what I mean? Like I was ready to do what I had to do.
Did you, having gotten into that game, drugs, guns, money, that's always in the back of your head that something like this could happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had mentally prepared yourself for something like this to erupt.
Right. And, it wasn't my first incident with violence. You know what I mean? Like there were situations that led to this moment. And, because I was out every day selling drugs had my gun on me all the time. And when you're dealing with a lot of cash, like eventually you're going to have to pull it out. Someone's going to try test you. Like I have so many different stories of things that led to this night where I actually had to use it.
Yeah.
And actually defend myself. And I never expected it to be in my home though. I always felt that like, because I would never shit where I eat.
Yeah.
So I felt like, how will these people know where I live? Are they here for me? Are they here for my roommates? You know what I mean?
What do you think was the reason why they're there? Like how'd they know you were there?
there's a couple situations that could have led to it that I would think of where I got into incidents with, other guys in the street that could have led them to be like, you know what? I'm gonna pay these guys to go rob him, and then I get a cut of whatever he's got. 'Cause I know he's got money. I know he's got drugs. But then again, my roommates were hot.
Mm.
I had roommates that were kind of loud, obnoxious. They
Yeah.
were loud, and I was never like that. I was
Yeah.
very, the people I sold to, kind of knew and been dealing with them for years. Like if someone's like, "Yeah, I got someone that wants something," like, can you start serving them? I'm like, no, you serve them. I'll serve you, and you serve them. I don't know who they are. I don't
Yeah.
trust them. My paranoia was always on high. Like I lived a very paranoid life.
Were you smoking a lot of weed then?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that probably doesn't help.
For me, I felt like it helped.
Yeah.
But when I look back on it, it could not have been
Yeah.
helping me at all.
Yeah.
you
And
know?
I'm not saying, listen, I mean, I know that weed can be used for benefit. Now, I'm just saying
Right.
in the sense, because I used to smoke a ton of weed back in 2012 to probably 2021. I used to
Yeah.
smoke a lot.
Right.
And I realized my anxiety levels were really high,
Right.
always thinking about things that could potentially happen but would never happen.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know if that, like, looking back, it's like, oh, that
It-
probably wasn't good for
it-
me.
I think it very well could have been.
Mhm.
And my lifestyle was horrible. I mean, I didn't work out. I was very thin. I barely ate anything.
Yeah.
If I did eat something, it was fast food.
Hmm.
I would drink, I would smoke, I would do, I would take pills from now to then. Like I was just mentally the worst mental state I could possibly be in.
Yeah.
No family around to, go have dinner with on the weekend or something. Like no, I had no one around.
Do you
So
think it would have been different if your family was around?
I think so.
You think so?
I think if I had at least my father closer by, that maybe he would have straightened me out a little
Could you
bit.
call him still and be like, yo, this is what I'm going through? You were too afraid to tell him.
I could, but it was the time difference. So
Mhm.
there's 6 hours difference.
Oh, true.
So it was like, it was hard to communicate. And I didn't really have like there wasn't smartphones back then.
Right.
I had a flip phone. I would talk to them on Facebook on a laptop.
Yeah.
There wasn't smartphone.
Yeah.
So it was a very different time. So
Crazy just to think only 15 years ago was so different. Yeah.
So I became very isolated. And I did have a girlfriend that I was living with at the time on Jefferson Ave, and then we broke up, and that kind of messed me up a little bit too, where I felt even more alone. She was cheating on me and all this kind of stuff. So my trust is becoming even worse.
Sure.
And then I'm dealing with people that are hard to trust with.
Hmm.
So it's just me and my dog,
Right.
And when that night finally came, it was like it made it even more of difficult for me to trust people,
Hmm.
because now I'm in a room with everyone that was in the house at the time, all my roommates and all the girls we all had over, and all the cops are there, and they come in like SWAT, bro. I'm talking bulletproof vests, ARs.
They responded that quickly.
It felt quick. It probably was probably more close to 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But they got multiple calls, because below me was a family with a kid. Over here was another family with a kid. Like
Wow.
we were 1,500 feet from a school zone. So
Yeah.
this is on Whitman Street off of Maple Avenue
In New London?
in London.
You said what street?
Whitman.
Whitman.
So you kind of come, like if you come down Willits,
Yep.
and then it splits off into Maple Avenue, and then it goes around up the hill, and that hill going up back on the Willits was Whitman.
Oh, Willits. I'm thinking West Coit. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it was like on top of that hill. So
That's where the shooting happened.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I think they got multiple calls,
Hmm.
because I mean it's not like a couple shots. Like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is a full on shootout.
Well, you shot 5, and if there's 5
yeah,
people with guns, let's say 3 of them have guns.
yeah, and
like,
they're shooting 9mm.
Yeah.
So that's a louder
it's
bang
much louder
than what I had.
Yeah.
But it's like it's enough where obviously everyone's going to call the cops. I mean they flooded there like quick, and came in the house, and they're like, "Ain't nobody leaving. We've got an attempted murder case."
Wow.
And when they said that, everyone in that room looked at me. And I'm just like, all my friends and everyone that was there looked at me. And I'm just like, come on, man. Like, now you just made it even more
Damn.
obvious. because I don't think they realized what had happened.
Right.
I didn't realize that I'd shot anyone.
Oh, you did shoot somebody.
Yeah,
Oh,
I shot multiple people, and it wasn't until
wow.
then that we all realized that someone had got hit.
Was it one of the guys?
Yeah.
Wow.
So in the end, I ended up shooting one of them in the face and the back, and that's the guy they caught, right? And then word on the street was that I hit another couple guys, but they managed to run away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a .22 small caliber. I heard one guy got shot in the butt.
Damn, you doing this blindly too? You shot 5 bullets
Yeah,
blindly, hit them.
I mean, it was hard to miss because they're
Sure.
literally right
I
on my
see.
back
Yeah,
deck.
yeah, yeah,
So it was
yeah.
like they had to like run down these steps,
Mm-hmm.
and even if I'm just like kind of loosely aiming,
I think I know what house you're talking about.
they
now.
got to run through it.
Is it so the Willits and then Whitman was it the house on the corner?
It was like right on the top of the hill. So say you were going down Willits, and then you would take a right,
Right.
and you would go up the hill
Gotta
onto
go all the way
Whitman,
up.
and we're
Gotcha.
like right on the top
Gotcha.
of the hill,
Yeah, yeah,
and then you would go down and take a right, and that was Maple,
Gotcha.
which would then connect back to Willits.
Yeah.
And
that's crazy.
yeah, so I mean, I didn't know I shot anyone. I mean,
When you found that out, you shot somebody. How'd you feel?
nothing.
Nothing. Man, that's
I
crazy.
swear to God, I felt nothing. I just
Wow.
sat there.
You didn't feel like, damn. You didn't feel like, oh, I'm about to go to jail. You didn't feel like, wow.
Bro, it almost pains me to say that
Yeah.
because it's hard for me to think like how different I was back then.
Mhm.
And I
Well, again, I
felt
mean,
nothing.
I gotta imagine you felt nothing because you were self-medicating,
yeah,
right? Like you said, pills, alcohol,
Yeah.
weed,
Yeah.
late,
it was late at
eating
night.
eating unhealthy. Like your judgment is so clouded,
Yeah. And I didn't care.
and it wasn't, it wasn't you, Maxi. It was, I'm a spiritual person. It's the flesh of what you had consumed and what you became.
Right.
But it wasn't you who was that 10-year-old little boy who loved his mom and dad, and that wasn't you. Man, that's crazy. So what happens next? So the shootout, the cops are there, no one's leaving.
Yeah.
There's a attempted murder case here.
Yep.
What happens next?
So everyone's in the room. Everyone's in the living room. As soon as the cops said that, one of my roommates just straight up threw up, just from the nerves.
That's crazy.
And I'm looking at him like, come on, man, stop being a little bitch, Like, you ain't got nothing to worry about. And I'm just sitting there, just calm.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no other way to react. And at the same time, I don't know how much they know.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to keep cool
Right.
and keep my mouth shut. And they questioned every single person one by one. They took them all out, and I was the last one. And that's when I knew. I'm like, they know.
Yeah.
They know it's me.
Do you think they were onto you beforehand?
Maybe when they came in and said, we're looking at an attempted murder case, they look at everyone to see the reaction,
No, I mean, just like you running the streets and like
It's a
any
possibility.
tips that this is a guy that we've been on to, because
Right.
from what I've learned in the last probably 3 years, one specifically, I won't go into detail here. It's not. Maybe one day I'll talk about it. I'll tell you offline. But I had someone. His name is Jay Caluro. He was a retired FBI agent turned real estate broker.
Okay.
He was undercover. He would buy crack and all that stuff.
What was the name?
Jay Caluro, out of Norwich.
Okay.
I'll show you a picture of him. Anyway, it's interesting because his side of work was understanding the human who ran the streets and the redemption of having a second chance. And
Right.
I was just unpacking some stuff that had happened, and he was like, "Yeah, they usually are on to you like really early." So I just wonder if for you, maybe they were on to you and they just kind of, this was their final tip.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think no, because I thought I was the best gangster there was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nobody could catch me, and I was very, very smart about how I would do things. And did they know? Maybe they knew who I was, and I just didn't realize it because I was had too much ego, to think, oh, I'm untouchable.
Right.
But obviously, when that happened, everyone starts getting questioned, and for the most part, they all said, Maxi's got a gun. I saw him go upstairs. You know, the one girl I had over the time, she didn't say anything, so that was pretty cool to know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but for the most part, everyone kind of, most of my roommates
they were
kept their
scared.
mouth shut, but they were scared
They
too.
were
I don't
scared.
think they realized the extent of like what had just happened.
Yeah. Which is so interesting, right? Because some of them are living similar lives to you,
Right.
but you were able to disconnect from the reality that this is life or death. Whereas for them, they're like, oh, shoot, this is basically life or death for them.
Right.
You know, and I could put myself into someone's shoes like that. I would never snitch. I
Right.
probably I wouldn't throw up. You know, things
Yeah.
like that. You know, no shade to the person that grew up, because I grew up with people like this, and probably, you know, and we'll talk off air. We probably know some of the same people who ran
Yeah.
similar stuff.
Most likely.
And you know, I never felt like, I felt scared, because I remember, I'm not going to say who it was, but I remember when I was 16 years old, some of the kids that I was running with, one of the dudes came in my house. He had a Glock. And he was like, yo, I was just spraying at these dudes. And I remember being like, yo, he has a gun in my house. I'm 16 years old. You know, I was an athlete, played baseball, wanted to
Yep.
play college baseball, wanted to hopefully play professional baseball. That, you know, those dreams are far gone now. But I do remember sitting there at 16, like, I had never seen a gun.
Right.
I never seen the clip. I've never seen bullets. And he's sitting there racking it, and you can tell almost like just his eyes were glazed over.
Right.
Like, just he wasn't seeing anything.
Yep.
But the moment he was shooting at people. And I remember being scared, but I also know that I could never be like, yeah, that was them. I just wasn't the type of person.
Right.
I grew up with people who I trusted, and they trusted me. But, you know, the people who you were with, they obviously saw that life or death. And it's interesting for you to be like, yeah, I was just so disconnected from anything.
Yeah.
Now, this happens. Is this when you get arrested, and
Yeah.
you get arrested on scene?
Yeah. So they question everyone, and then they come to me last. And these two detectives are the ones leading the case. And it's funny because one of the detectives I end up meeting later on in my life
Cut his hair?
as a barber.
That's
Yeah. Not cutting his hair, but knowing his son.
Mm. Did you guys unpack that?
So I never really talked to the detective again,
Mm-hmm.
but I Got You Next will have students that come in. And one of the students that came in, he told me his name, and it sounded familiar.
Sure.
Come to find out, his father was a detective in New London and was one of the detectives on my case.
Wow.
And now I'm here teaching him how to cut hair, or giving him advice on
Yeah.
how to cut hair. So it's kind of weird how things, 360 like that. But yeah, I had this one cop. I always tell this story when I'm telling this part, that this cop comes up to me, and he's big, jacked, and he's like, look, man, I don't give a fuck what happens to you. I'm going to go home to my hot wife. You're either going to give me a statement or not. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to talk to you.
Right.
It's like the ego this guy had. And it's like, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I know that's in the game. That's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't talk to the cops.
Sure.
You just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
One word, lawyer. That's what I kept saying.
Right.
But then this detective came up to me, who was the father of the kid I ended up having in barber school. And he's like, you know what, Max? This is kind of looking like a self-defense case. Like,
this is right after it happened.
This is right after. We're standing outside of the building, my apartment. My apartment's all taped off.
But you didn't have a registered firearm, right?
No.
Yeah, okay.
He's like, it's looking more like a self-defense case. He's like, how about we talk about this like more in private? And I'm like, all right, I'll talk with you. Because I knew that I had to say something. I had to explain myself a little bit. So I'm like, look, this ain't attempted murder. Like, these guys try to break in my house.
That's an interesting take. Something switched in you then.
Yeah.
In that moment.
It was almost like the guy like talked to me like a human.
Yeah.
And it made me feel human.
That's huge.
And want to like talk about it more.
Sure.
Or just be like, look, like these guys came into my house. I wasn't out looking for trouble.
He talked to you like a father would talk to their son.
Yeah.
Man.
Yep. And that really kind of
wow.
it just hit something in me where I'm
Yeah.
like, I like this guy. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like he's he's treating me like a human being, and
Mhm.
he's obviously a father. And I spoke with them, and I didn't go into complete detail about everything.
Mhm.
I just kind of gave the details that would help me in the case, and just kind of emphasized that, like, look, these guys broke in. I was scared for my life, and there was a firearm that we had in the house. I didn't say it was mine. I said it was accessible to anybody. Stuck my hand out, fired blindly. Um, and yeah, and they took me to the holding cells in New London that night,
It was the weekend.
and
So
it
you were
was
there, you
and
were
it
there
was a
till Monday.
Friday night, and it was Easter Sunday.
Oh shoot!
So I was in there Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and Monday night.
Wow.
On a cold steel metal bench, no blanket, no mattress. The light was always on. I was in there for 24 hours.
You stay awake the whole time,
I
or
I didn't get no sleep. I tried to sleep, but my hips would hurt so much from the steel bench. And I remember the cop that was overseeing us was that asshole cop that tried to get the statement from me
Mhm.
originally. I'm like, you guys don't got like a blanket or nothing? Like, this is like April. I'm like, I'm freezing. Like,
Mhm.
I'm literally shivering in here. He's like, oh no, this is a gangster unit. We don't got blankets. Not for you guys. I'm like, man, this dude is just like, and that anger would build up in me again. It was like, what am I gonna do? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? He's just looking at me like like nothing.
Sure.
I'm just a criminal, and rightfully so. But we're still human.
Right. Right.
You still got a job to do, and I'm still a human being.
Sure.
And I was literally freezing in this place, and they would give me a McDonald's biscuit at like 5 in the morning with a black coffee, and then at like 11 o'clock at night, they gave me a hamburger from McDonald's with nothing on it and
That's
a
it.
black coffee. That's all I got.
Damn, bro, that's brutal.
That's all I
That's
got.
brutal.
And so I was actually excited to go to Corrigan and have a bunk and
Yeah.
have a blanket.
Yeah, yeah.
And as I'm in there all weekend, other people are starting to come in.
People you know?
By chance, this one guy that I was serving at the time came in,
Mhm.
and I've sold him a couple ounces before, and he was like, started talking, then he heard, and he's like, yo, is that you, Blanco? I'm like, yeah, what up? He's like, yo, I heard what happened. I heard what you did. I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, I know who you shot. I'm like, well, who? He goes, this so-and-so, and they claim blood. And I'm like, what, like their bloods?
Like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like the gang? And he's like, yeah.
Ah,
I'm like, oh, great.
yeah,
And I wasn't affiliated with anything. I was just me.
yeah.
And I knew there was, there's Latin Kings and stuff. I
Mhm.
met a couple of people like that before, and just kind of didn't want to get involved with that. But when I heard that that I had shot a blood, I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah,
I'm now going to go to Corrigan,
yeah.
and
Somebody's gonna hear about
who
it.
knows if he's
Yeah.
got an uncle or someone in here.
Damn.
So then that's when I started getting a little bit nervous. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, okay. But I was just so stone cold back then.
Mhm.
And I had to be, that when I got taken to Corrigan, they did a psych test on me, and they're having me explain what I just did. And they were like baffled. They're like, how are you so calm? I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, what else am I going to do?
Right.
And me freaking out ain't gonna help anything.
Yeah.
But because I was so calm, they classified me as a level 4 inmate. Level
Wow,
5.
that's a high, right? It's
Yeah, level
wow.
5 being the maximum. So they classified me as a level 4 inmate, because they're like, all right, obviously this guy is no stranger to violence. He doesn't even care about what he just did. But it really wasn't that. It was more I just trying to
You're trying to
stay
process
calm.
it. Yeah, you're trying to process it.
Yeah, and just it's such a surreal situation that everything didn't even feel real.
Wow.
Like everything just felt like a blur, like a dream.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until you get out and start living your life, you're like, damn, like I still deal with PTSD.
I'm
now.
sure. I'm sure.
And I feel it more now as I get older from these things, that I start to realize all these things I did are now affecting me now.
Yeah.
Where I'll get anxiety now.
Yeah.
As an adult, or as a 35-year-old man, I'm now getting anxiety about things that would never worry me before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to Corrigan, I got processed, and when I weighed in and I got processed there, I was 113 pounds.
At 21?
Yeah.
Damn,
With
bro.
all my clothes on and my shoes.
Bro, they call that soaking wet, right?
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
And the lady weighed me and looked at me and was like, look at me like, you're fucked.
That explains it all, man. That explains it. I mean, I don't want to say explains it all, but it explains the lack of ability to tap into your why you did that, right?
Right.
I don't know where you stand on faith, but I don't think that this stuff that happened was an accident.
Right.
I think that your story is something to be told. I think that a lot of young men are missing the pieces of what you're describing today. I believe very heavily one of the reasons is the lack of a presence of a father. I believe that mainly because I grew up without one.
Yeah.
I believe that when you are so influenced by your peers, nothing really else matters. I believe that.
Right.
I think those two go hand in hand. There's a Bible scripture that says, "For what does it profit to man to gain the whole world but lose his own soul?" What did you feel was the profit out of all of this?
I mean, well, when I look back at it now, it's like this had to happen to change me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it all led to that one night where, like, you know, I could have died.
Yeah.
You know, I got shot at too. So it's not like, you know, the guy that I shot was considered the victim, but in reality, I was a victim too. But the profit from all of this is that now I understand, you know, that every action has a reaction, and that when you live your life a certain way and hang out with the wrong people or the wrong environment, you know, nothing good is ever going to come out of it. So I feel like now I know that, like, in order to succeed, you need to fail.
For real.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I needed to fail and I needed to hit rock bottom.
I would say that was a rock bottom, bro. That's crazy.
To really realize that there's only one way I can go now, and that's up.
How'd you get out? How'd you decide to get out? Like, when did that happen?
Well, it was, so my case was basically not dropped, but like I beat the case essentially because they really couldn't prove that I shot this guy because my fingerprints weren't on the gun. I didn't have any gun residue on my hands, you know, because obviously I wiped things and cleaned things, but the guy that I shot wouldn't admit to breaking into my house. So now everything is circumstantial. He won't say I was trying to break into my house. He's saying he got shot by a drive-by. You know, I'm saying, look, I just stuck my hand out the window. I didn't aim. I didn't know what was going on.
Can I just really interject real quick? So one of that guy I mentioned, Jay Coloro, he mentioned, and people lost their mind. Won't shout out who. I don't think they'll listen to this episode. I don't think they'll get into 55 minutes of this episode to hear it, so I don't care. But if they do, these people lost their mind. This guy goes, drug people, meaning the industry, the game, the business, are more honest than real estate people. That wasn't a generalization in saying that real estate people are unethical.
Yep.
But he's saying that they run a more honest game, whereas the great equalizer is death.
Mm-hmm.
The person you shot did something illegal, but wasn't going to rat, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The loyalty to the game wasn't going to be, that is insane.
Yeah.
Go on, my bad. Had to throw that.
No, and that's the code of the street, you know?
Man,
and
that is crazy.
At the same time, though, when you think about it from his perspective, if he was to admit breaking into my house, he's now looking at home invasion, you know, attempted murder, you know, all these other kind of things. So, you know, he kind of kept his mouth shut. I was just like, look, I fired blindly. I was scared for my life. And I got a good lawyer. We kept fighting the case. I went to court for 6 months fighting this case. Mm-hmm. Every time I was on time with a suit, looking as presentable as I can. And there's dudes in there that think they're gangsters, and they're there with sweatpants on and their moms, and they're thinking they're all hard. And I'm there with my lawyer and my suit on. Because this is a serious situation.
It matters, right. What's going on during the 6 months, though? Like, what are you doing?
I'm still selling weed.
You are? Okay, so you're still...
Because I had no other way to make money.
Yeah,
so it was like, I was still...
Wow.
It's a hard habit to break.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still selling stuff. just not to the extent that I
Mhm.
was. And I wasn't dealing with people in New London.
Did you move?
I moved out of New London. I moved in with a friend that took me in Waterford. And I stopped affiliating myself with the people I was living with at the time, too.
Mhm.
So I did. I changed my environment. I changed who I was around. But that just showed me that it was the people I was around that drew this unwanted attention, because when I was away from them, nothing bad was happening. I
Yep.
was pretty low key about things.
People, places, and things.
But I couldn't really get a job because I didn't know if I was going to go to prison or not. So
Mhm.
it was like I didn't know what the outcome of my case would be. So for 6 months, I'm kind of in this limbo of like still selling drugs and not knowing if I'm going to do 5 to 10.
Mhm.
So I was getting ready to do 5 years. I was like, minimum I'll do is 5 years. And I was ready to do it.
Mhm.
I started going to the gym. I started working out. I started putting weight on me. And that helped me mentally too.
Mhm.
Like working out and stimulating my mind the right way and eating better. And just from doing that, I gained like 20 pounds of muscle.
So you went from 113 to 133.
Yeah, just instantly, because I was
Yeah.
just living a better lifestyle.
So now you're starting to feel better. You feel
Yeah.
good.
So
Got a
now-
little clarity.
So then it was like, all right, well, I still got to go to prison.
Yeah.
But then the day came, and they were like, all right, if you plead guilty to unlawful discharge of a firearm as a misdemeanor and do a 90-day suspended sentence, we'll plead guilty to this, you can walk right now. I was like, what? And I look at my lawyer. He's like, yeah, say yes. So I pled guilty to that charge, which was nothing at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to do any hard time. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, but that was when I was like, yo, I just got the biggest miracle second chance in my life.
So
Like,
now you're starting to feel anxious about going through all of this. So
Yeah.
you're leading up. You have your 6 months of going through court. You're still selling weed in the back a
Yeah.
little bit. You're starting to get a little anxious that you may do time in prison for potentially 5 years, which is a significant amount of time from
Yeah.
2011 to 2016, 2017. Probably
Yeah.
get out on time served or something like
Right.
that. Probation, the whole nine. But you're starting to feel what you should have been feeling
right,
when this happened in 2011.
right.
When you're going through this process and all
Mhm.
that, you start feeling this. They give you this plea, hey, take this deal and run. What happens next?
Well, I think like all my family started flooding and hitting me up, and no matter, even though I'd done this pretty serious thing, my family never judged me.
I love that.
They still loved me the same. They were still there for me. And that's when I started feeling more empathy and more different, and was getting more nervous about having to go to prison. But I had to still think strong and be like, look, I can do this time. It's no problem. And maybe I can like get into barbering, and I'll start barbering while I'm in there.
Man, that's amazing. Your ability to cope with the what if,
Yeah.
that's hard.
Right.
People get very anxious with the what if,
Right.
but you're able to process it in a way that a hustler, entrepreneur would, a business person would. Like
Right.
a what if scenario to you isn't the end.
Right.
It's the what's next. Man, that's amazing, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
So after that, it was like I beat the case, and I'm like, all right, let me get a job. I'll start working a regular job. I started working in a lumberyard with my friend, and I was there for like almost 5-6 years,
Mhm.
not making good money, still selling weed because I needed to make more money. But it was at that point in my life where I finally had the epiphany of like, what am I doing in my life? I just need to become a barber already,
Mhm.
because I've been cutting hair on the side since I
Sure.
was 16.
Yeah.
So it was always a little side thing I did. And I figured if I went to prison, I would have just done it there, because I'm a small guy. I had to find some kind of hustle. So cutting people's hair was an easy way to have done that in
Mhm.
prison. But in the end, I was like, I've got this. I've been given this opportunity. I've wasted now 5 years in this job. So I got comfy. And I was working with my best friend. So time just flies. But that's when I decided I need to pursue barbering the real way.
Right.
And get licensed, go to school. And that's when I found Bravado. And I
How long were you
signed
at
up
Bravado?
about a year.
Were you there with Ariane at the
Yeah.
same time? Oh,
He was there, yep.
yeah.
And that's how I met your cousin. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? And he mentored me in barbering. Like
Oh,
I
wow.
learned a lot from
Yeah.
him. And because I was in the school, but I would go to the barbershop too,
Sure.
and I'd see Adrian there, and I learned a lot from him,
Mhm.
and he was always someone that out of all the other barbers, he would always pay attention to me.
Yeah.
He would always show me love and
Yeah.
like didn't have an ego about nothing.
Yeah.
and he would see how I cut, and he was like, "You're gonna be a problem."
Yeah.
He always told me that you're gonna be a problem
That's
when you
what's
become
up.
a barber.
I'm happy to hear that.
But it was always love,
Yeah.
you know. And yeah, I mean, I had to work full time at the lumberyard and then go to school part time on my days off. So I was at the school Monday and Thursday. So I had no days off for
You
a
know
whole
what's
year.
you know what's nice about just hearing you say that though. You have positioned again, going back to the way you wired your brain, is that was just hustling.
Yeah,
You know, it wasn't as fast,
right.
right? But you were hustling.
It was all the hustle.
So it didn't make you want to just be like, all right, I can't do this anymore, and go back
Yeah.
into the streets.
Right.
That's crazy, man.
Yep.
That's crazy. So so this is 2012-ish now around
This is like 2017,
2017,
2018,
2017,
where I
2018.
really was like,
Yeah.
Me and Leah, my fiance, we're living
Mhm.
together. We got an apartment. I'm working this job. It's not really going nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like cutting hair on the side. I'll cut hair in my kitchen.
Mhm.
So I'd work all day, cut hair in my kitchen. Then I'm like, let's go to barber school, actually
Mhm.
get licensed. And it wasn't until I got my license. It took me a couple times to pass the state boards because I'm
Mhm.
not a book person.
Those things are hard, man.
And it's all books.
Yeah.
You know? But it was when I became like a barber and I started working in a shop and I met Danny Garcia and he
Mhm.
brought me into I Got You Next. That was when I was like, this
This is the second
is
chance.
it. This is it. I can be a barber and I can make money from it and I
Mhm.
enjoy doing this. But then, even though I got established with that, my past kept haunting me.
Ooh, what do you mean?
So my past, I now have this charge on my record, which at the time I didn't think was nothing.
Which was the one that you just pleaded guilty for?
The unlawful discharge of a
Okay.
firearm. And you go through life and you tend to forget, hey, whatever, I got this charge. But then it was like me and my girl would go to get a nice apartment and I would get denied
Because of the misdemeanor.
because of my gun charge.
Wow.
Just because it was a gun charge. Doesn't matter if it's a misdemeanor, felony. If it's a gun charge, I couldn't live in certain buildings.
Wow.
So I had to live in like privately owned, rundown apartments that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
So this charge is still stunting my growth, even when I've changed my life and I'm trying to do better.
How are you feeling when it comes? Are you getting frustrated that this is happening?
Super frustrated. Yeah. So I'm like, look, this ain't me anymore. But my past was still haunting me. And then it got to the point where it started affecting my actual status here as an immigrant. Because at this time, I'm here on a green card.
Interesting.
Right? And every 10 years, you have to renew your green card.
Right.
So I must have renewed my green card, caught the gun charge. Then 10 years later, I go to renew it. And they're like, oh, you need to hire a lawyer because you have a deportable offense.
Wow.
You have a removable offense on your record. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you can actually get denied your green card when you reapply and they can deport you.
I don't want to make this a political thing, but was this rampant because of the Trump administration for you, or was it wouldn't have mattered?
It was right before Trump was
Okay.
becoming president. So I
Okay.
think Biden was still president.
No, Obama. So if this was when you're going through this apartment thing,
It
it was 2017,
Yeah.
2018. Yeah, I think Trump got elected in 2016.
Yeah.
So that's, obviously, we know his stance and whatnot. I'm just curious
Right.
if that is impacting you or if this is just from prior legislation.
So it did impact me a little bit.
Mhm.
So when I went to, I was just going to reapply for the green card. But then I hired a lawyer and they're like, let's just go for your citizenship.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, do you think I can get it? And they're like, yeah, but you need to get this record of yours expunged. You need to get a pardon. And I'd already looked into it. And it's a difficult process. Like you can't even apply for an expungement until you've been out of trouble for 7 years.
Wow.
So you have to have no trouble for 7 years before you can even try and get
And they go based off of the conviction date, right? They don't go based off of the incident. So the conviction date came, 6 months after you?
Yeah, so it's like, let's say it's 2012 when I got convicted.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, well, then I started looking into that and I talked to my lawyer that represented me in my case originally, and he put me on to a lawyer that does pardons.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through the pardon process, which is extremely difficult. It's complex. It's a lot of money, but I stuck with it and I did it. And I got, you have to get letters of recommendation. So one of them was Danny from I Got You Next. One of them was Angie, who was my instructor and owner of Bravado at the time. One of them was my father. Another was a client of mine that was a state cop. So I had these very good letters to help prove that I'm a good member of society. And plus, I had actually changed my life. So
Yeah.
I had a track record of changing my life.
Did
know,
you graduate high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I graduated 2008 from East Lyme
Yeah,
High
yeah.
School. And but I developed a track record. So I developed I got a license in a trade. I worked a job for many years and was one of the best employees.
Mhm.
And you really gotta gas yourself up.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything you write in the
It's
application,
a
because
brag book. Yeah.
you could send the application in and they could just deny you.
Right.
They could be like, yeah, we're not even gonna go any further than this.
Why didn't they with you?
Because I had such a good track record, I think, and I'm well spoken.
Yeah, yeah, definitely are.
You know, I'm not an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've made dumb decisions, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've always learned from the mistakes I've made. So I think that helped me as well.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to go in front of a panel of judges and prove your case. They literally ask you, why do you think you deserve to get a pardon? And they know what my charge is. They know what happened. And I'm gassing myself up. But I had tons of things to prove because it had been so long. Been 10 years at the time. So I was like, yeah, I got licensed as a barber. I became the manager of the barbershop I work at. I have tons of clientele that are willing to back me up and say that I'm a good person. You know, I take care of my girlfriend who has MS. You know, I'm her caregiver. I take care of my bills and everything.
Responsibilities.
I'm an established tax-paying man in this country. You know, and they no questions asked. Like, yep, you deserve the pardon.
That's amazing.
And they granted me the pardon. And then from that, I went for my citizenship, and that was really hard as well. And that at that time, it was around with Trump.
Yeah.
So what made it a little difficult was it just made it more expensive.
Sure.
So I was able to go through everything, but he just jacked the price up of everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So instead of $600 to be a citizen, it's now $1,200.
Yeah.
So it sucked, but I had the money and I got it done, and I got my citizenship, and now I'm a citizen with a clean record, and a homeowner now too, and which is how I met you. You know, so it's definitely crazy to think back on everything that happened, but people can change, man, and but it's all on you.
Right.
It's on you as an individual to realize that you're making the wrong choices, and it's on you to start making the right ones and choose the better path.
The same guy that I mentioned, he had the 3 things with children. He also said that people either change on purpose or on accident. You know, on purpose, meaning, listen, I realize that I'm overweight and I need to lose some weight, right?
Right.
That's, I'm going to do that. On accident, it's having a heart attack and it's forcing you to change your lifestyle.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had an on accident change of your life that benefits who you are and where you're becoming. And there's a story to tell. I really believe, what you're saying, you can go to high schools, you can go to middle schools, you can go into urban communities and speak this message.
Right.
Because I think that very much like you at 18, 20, 21, and I'll put myself in the same categories, that we think that we are invincible.
Yeah.
We think that we have it all figured out.
Yeah.
And I think now in 2025, that mentality is growing more than not. Credit to social media, credit to media, news, influence again. And I had said this to my buddy the other day. I was like, yo, what's interesting about culture today is that you can have 5 people grow up in the same hood but have different cultures because of social media, because of TikTok, because of Instagram, because of there's a digital culture.
Right.
You throw that into the landscape of the youth, and that's poisoning the youth. I think your message can resonate in a way that can change not just a handful of people, but a generation of people. So you should consider that if you haven't, because it's a really strong message. Because now here you are, survived a shootout, which you did. You went through the test of going back and forth with judges and lawyers on whether or not you're going to be spending 5 years, which is a significant amount of time at that point in your life. That would have been a quarter of your life, a quarter of your life into prison. You have that, then you have to sit in front of judges to basically say, listen, I'm a good person, guys. Listen, that was bad. I made bad choices.
Right.
A lot of people could say, to hell with this, I'm just going to go back to the streets, but you didn't. And you did that because your why became I need to be best for, and this is just my interpretation, I need to be best for, obviously, your fiance, but I can't be in this world just to be doing this kind of stuff.
Right.
There's value that I have. There's value that I bring to the table. I'm a good barber. Why do I want to waste that talent? I'm well spoken. Why do I want to waste that talent? And it becomes this realization over the years for you that I believe has always been there, but you just didn't know how to uncover it.
Yeah.
I
for sure.
I really do. We got a few minutes left. This was good. Oh man, this was really good. But I do want to spend a little bit of time to talk about you as an entrepreneur now, business person.
Yeah.
What's life like for you now? How are you dealing with some of the things that we just talked about for the last hour and 15 minutes?
Right.
You know, what's next for you? What do you see next for you? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, I always wanted to become a homeowner, which I just accomplished.
Yes.
So now it's like, now it's, the typical homeowner stuff,
Yeah.
and taking care of things
Yeah.
to fix. There's always something to do.
Fix the asbestos siding.
Yep, exactly. Like there's all these things
Yeah.
I want to do to the home, and it takes time, it
Yeah.
takes money, and
I guess what I'm asking, and I'm someone who I believe in more, right? I think that when we go through life, we achieve things. This is my second house.
Yep.
I have 3 kids. I have a really good job that I've been in for the last 10 years. And you hit these milestones, and all of a sudden you feel like, woof, I did it.
Right.
And then it's like, well, what's next?
Yeah. Not everyone thinks that way, though.
Yeah.
Not everyone thinks that way. Like some people stay stagnant, but I
Mhm.
think me and you can relate in that aspect of where it's like I'm getting to the point where I'm like, yeah, what is next?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do I become my own
Mhm.
owner of a business?
Yeah.
You know, do I start that route? Do I?
I'll be honest. You are very well spoken, and I'm being
Thank you.
dead serious. You should consider using a platform of using your message as a keynote opportunity. You
Thank
really
you.
should, because I grew up, like I said, with some kids in New London who are some with us, some no longer with us,
Mhm.
some in prison.
Yep.
And the absence of a father is, I think, probably one of the biggest things in this. And I want you to think about what that detective did for you
Yeah.
and how he spoke to you like a human.
Right.
I think that most kids need that. And
Yeah.
you have the audience to do that, I would assume.
Right.
You have the brand to do that.
Yep.
And whether or not it's up your alley, it's usually uncomfortable. But I think that it could be life-changing to a lot of people. I really do.
Thank you.
So my bad, I didn't mean to interject.
No,
but,
not at all.
Business. Let's talk about. So, we obviously we know you're a barber, and
Yep.
You've been doing it since you were young. Talk to me about this brand, this beard brand, the
Yeah.
oil. What's that?
Well, I obviously I have a beard, and then people would always compliment my beard when I would cut their hair.
Yeah.
So I started thinking, well, I'm promoting all these other oils. Why don't I just try and make my own? So
Yeah.
I started making my own beard oil.
You made it yourself.
Yeah.
How? Like, what did you do?
I went on YouTube, and funny enough,
Yeah.
it's like a middle-aged white soccer mom
Yeah.
in her kitchen
Yeah.
taught me how to make oils. And you have
Yeah.
carrier oils, and then you have oils that you add to it for
Yeah.
the scent. And it was just trial and error, just mixing oils
Mhm.
together, throwing it in my beard, going up to my girl, be like, hey, smell my beard. Does it smell good or bad?
Yeah.
She's like, it smells like an ashtray. I'm like, all right, let me erase
Yeah.
that ingredient. But yeah, I've had my oil for quite a few years
Yeah.
now. And I don't promote it enough.
Mhm.
I just sell it in the shop.
Yeah. Do you? Is it? You don't have it like a link where people can buy it or anything like that?
I just sell it in the shop,
yeah.
and I should create a website.
Yeah.
I should do more with it, but it's a lot,
Oh, I'm
like
sure.
to make a bunch of oil.
Trust me.
And every time I make some, it takes me like 6 hours
Oh,
to
I'm
make
sure.
like a huge batch.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of, I sell it
I
in
think
the
it's
shop,
exhausting.
and I sell it to all my clients.
Mhm.
But I started getting into the beard game more, but then I started meeting other people that are in the beard industry from going to expos and stuff.
Mhm.
And that's when I met the guys from Beard Octane. And this is a company that's local. They are from Colchester. And so I was going to start working with them. And then we decided that becoming an affiliate with them would be a good option. So I am
Nice.
an affiliate with another beard company. And any products you buy on there, you can use my code Max B10 and get 10% off.
And they have a website?
And they have a
Yeah,
website.
text it to me and I'll drop it in the link.
Okay,
for
yeah,
this.
yeah. So Beard Octane, they have great products, and at the end of the day, like I'm a barber,
Mhm.
and I my main focus is cutting hair, and will I ever go further with my beard oil? Possibly, but
you gotta limit your amount of things that you are trying to do. I find
Right.
myself all the time with the podcast. I'm like, I do the podcast and I try to do a bunch of different content. I try to do this. I'm like, yo, you can spread yourself thin.
Yeah,
and,
it's a lot.
especially if you have a day job. Like,
Yeah.
I sell insurance. I run the podcast a couple times a week, and I
Yeah.
edit my entire show from beginning to end. Nobody else does it.
right,
Like,
exactly.
I think
You're
it's
a father
exhausting.
too.
Your father,
like, it's,
3,
it's
yeah,
a lot.
it's
like,
a lot. Yeah,
if I was to make beard products, like eventually I would have to hire a different company to
Sure.
do it, and then I feel like I might lose the quality of my product.
right. And it
'Cause
takes
I'm-
away from you a little bit.
Yeah, because I'm using like all natural oils that
Mhm.
I mix myself. So
Yeah.
it's like right now I kind of just like having it sold in
Yeah.
the shop, and people like it. But I could make a website and stuff. But
Yeah. Listen,
that's always
what's next?
another potential of
Right.
what I could do.
Right.
And but at the end of the day, I think I'm so satisfied with being a barber and knowing that that's how I make my money
Yeah.
now. And now that's my career, and that's what I'll do for the rest of
Yeah.
my life. And I whenever I get bored or I get, I start thinking, man, this sucks. I'm getting bored of this. This is a job now. I just think back to what I
Yeah.
used to do
Right.
and with the positions I used to be in,
Mhm.
and it makes me feel grateful to be where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And I am in the best position I could be in my life. And from being a barber, I was able to become a homeowner.
Right.
Not a lot of barbers do that
Mhm.
because they don't do their taxes. They don't file anything,
Sure.
and that's something I want to preach is like, if you want to become a homeowner, you need to
Do things the right way.
You need to do it the right way. You need proof of income. You need to have a paper trail. And that's what I did. And now I have a home. So,
Yeah.
and that to me is part of the American dream that I think I've always been chasing. As an immigrant,
Yeah.
that's what people come here for. And it is possible,
Right.
no matter what your past, your future is still bright, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah, man. Listen, I want to congratulate you on your redemption story.
Thank you.
I think that, like I said a little while ago, I think a lot of people could look at their life and be like, I can't do all this. And what is it? The recidivism rate is high. Like,
Yeah.
people go in and out of jail.
Yeah.
And they can't adapt to the ways of what you just outlined is the American dream.
Right.
America is a country where they lay it out for you to do it,
Yeah.
and you can do it. A lot of people, and I'll put myself in the camp, early on in my career, things I expected to be easy.
Mhm.
And when you expect things to be easy, you become complacent and you don't achieve what you want to achieve. Everything you said you've done in the last, you're 35, so let's just go back to 2011, 15 years, was hard work.
Yeah.
And you are the definition of a redemption story. So before we let you go here, any last pieces of words for the listeners, and where can people find you?
Well, yeah, I mean, my favorite quote that I live by is, no matter how dark your past, you could still have a bright future.
Mhm.
Your future is still spotless. So don't let your past define who you are. But it's on you.
Mhm.
It's on you. It's going to take hard work, and you have to be willing to do that.
Mhm.
You can find me on Instagram at Maxi the Barber, or just search my name, Maxi Blanco, and I'll pop up.
You have a bookings link on
Yep.
I Got You Next on the website?
Yeah,
I'll
right
throw
on my
that up.
Instagram. You
I'll throw
have
that
all
in there
my
too.
information. You click on my links on my Instagram, and it's got the Beard Octane website. It's got my booking website.
Nice.
It's got all my information you need. And
Nice.
yeah, I'm always accepting new clients. And maybe from here, this will make me want to do more
Yeah.
of this kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's hard for me to talk about my
Yeah,
past
listen,
sometimes,
uh,
but the more I talk about it, the more people tell me that this needs to be heard more.
Mhm.
And yeah.
What's nice, you said something earlier. Your dad said, the man that you should fear the most is the man who has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose now. Or you have everything to lose,
Well, yeah.
but it's all out there.
Yeah.
You've put yourself through hell, literally hell, down and out. And now that it's all out there, you can be someone else's redemption story as well. And that's why
Right.
I'll keep echoing that. So Everybody, Maxi Blanco, I really enjoyed this conversation. I
Yeah,
don't
me too,
normally
man.
go longer than an hour. So
Yeah,
this was really good. Granted, there was a couple
right.
hiccups here and there, but I really enjoyed this conversation. I think it's going to be one of my best episodes that people watch or listen to.
Nice.
Um, so everybody, make sure you go check Maxi out on Instagram. We'll drop his location in the comments. We'll do the Beard Octane in the comments, or sorry, in the description as well. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow, share the channel, Paulie M, where the Open Exchange podcast is. And we'll catch you next time.